Hey, what's going on, Purple People podcast fans? Welcome to this week's show. It is Sunday, December the 29th. Week 17 is over with, and this is episode 376, the Bear Necessities. My name is Kyle Smith, and I'm joined by Adam Carlson this week. What is up, dude? How are you?
It's a day. We had football. There was some of it on. I watched some of it. It was okay, I guess.
Yeah, what a weird football. It feels, it's just me. Like, I'm recapping all the scores, the stuff that mattered, the stuff that didn't. There were some things that were obviously we thought was going to happen. There's some things that were very shocking. And it's a weird day, weird football day, but we're glad we get to talk some Viking football. This will probably be a quicker show. I know we say that a lot when we get started on here, but there's not a lot to talk about. Right before we got started, I told you guys that have joined the chat, and I'm going up here now. There's 2 people in already, so thank you for joining. But we had debated on waiting to do this before or after tonight's game. The Seahawks and the Niners are playing right now, which directly affects where the Vikings go next week in the wild card. But we can just give you kind of a jump through of all 3. What's up, Bob Wells? Thanks for jumping in. We can talk about the day a little bit, and we'll talk about this game. But, the Bears came into U.S. Bank Stadium today. They won 21-19. They played essentially all of the second stringers and below on the Vikings team, and it was just a clunky, weird game. The score was odd. There wasn't an offensive touchdown. I went until like the third quarter.
Yeah, it wasn't until Minnesota got their touchdown on the board, and it was just an odd game. It had a real preseason feel to it, at least from the Minnesota point of view. Maybe for the Bears, this is their standard. I don't know. I know that their offense isn't fantastic, but even their defense didn't look like they were doing as well as the Vikings offense, just not being able to move the ball well.
Yeah, it was weird. I mentioned to Adam right before we started that we haven't beat the Bears in 2 seasons now. They've swept us 2 seasons in a row, which is annoying. Last year it was kind of, suspected. They got the addition of Khalil Mack. It was dominant. They were at 12-4. Everything clicked for them for a little while. But I'll give you a recap of what today was, because Adam nailed it on the head. It was a preseason game. It was weird, and I almost feel bad for the fans that were there, because it would be cool if they came back and won, but they lost again. But this is how the game went. First quarter, 2 Chicago field goals. Second quarter, Minnesota field goal, 2 Chicago field goals. Oh, I'm sorry. Field goal for Minnesota, safety for Chicago, Chicago field goal, Minnesota field goal. So it's 11-6. I haven't seen an 11-6 score ever. That goes into half. The third quarter, David Montgomery, 14-yard run for a touchdown, 18-6. Fourth quarter, Mike Boone gets a touchdown, 2 Dan Bailey field goals, and Eddie Pinheiro with 10 seconds left wins the game for the Bears, 21-19. So, yeah, not a lot of scoring as far as touchdowns and anything fun. There was a callback. I thought Afadio Denebo was going to get another touchdown, which was amazing. But, it's a weird game, not going to lie.
Yeah, I feel a bit bad because the crowd that was there, I think when they bought their tickets, they were expecting to see a Week 17 game where the Bears and the Vikings were going to be dueling it out for the NFC North crown, and instead the Packers wrapped that up, and Minnesota was left with I haven't really seen a Week 17 where a team could rest their starters, but yet they were the 6th seed. I just kind of like scratched my head, because that doesn't happen often at all.
That's the kicker. Because of the loss this past Monday night against Green Bay, if we would have beaten Green Bay, there would have been a lot more things on the table to play for. But because we didn't, because we were locked into that 6th seed, that's another one. Just like I mentioned, 11-6. I've never seen 11-6. I've never seen, as Adam just said, a team resting and they're the last team to get in to the playoffs in their conference. It's weird. It's a good thing to have. I mean, at least this season we can say we finished above 500. We made it to the postseason. It's definitely an improvement from last year, but all around kind of a clunky day. But
well, let's be honest. The Vikings were in a no-win situation there. If they were to have started all their players and get the win, try to get momentum, get their players going on the same page, they'd have been criticized if anybody would have gotten hurt.
Yep.
if they rest all their players, they're going to get criticized for not having the players out there, keeping them, football ready, giving them some positive things to build on, getting a win at home, giving the fans a little bit more to go off. It was a no-win situation, and whatever decision they made, they were going to get criticized for.
Yeah, we talked about this together, Kyle, myself, and Adam in our podcast chat. But we have different opinions, different thoughts on it. But ultimately, you can pick a side on it. I think it was good to let everybody to healthy. We are a little banged up, especially the star players. We saw Monday night what this team looked like when Kirk Cousins, the starting offensive line and receivers, and all those guys start, and they don't have Dalvin Cook or Alexander Mattison. They look pretty lifeless. It goes to show you, and I want to talk about that later in the show as kind of a comparison of teams in the past, because today there was a graphic that went up of all the Vikings playoffs within the last 10 years. And 10 years ago, they recapped the NFC Championship loss against Saints with Favre. And then you have a couple years later, the Adrian Peterson year where Joe Webb is the quarterback in the playoffs against Green Bay. You got the Blair Walsh incident. You have the Minneapolis Miracle, which is more recent. And then you have Mew on there. What's up, Mew? And then you have the Philadelphia loss was the last time we were in the playoffs. So I find a lot of similarities to this 10-6 team, to the team back in the Teddy Bridgewater era, and the 10-6 team with Christian Ponder, being that the star was the running back. The defense was good. I will say the quarterback is much improved. Obviously, Kirk Cousins is better than Ponder, but there's a lot of similarities in these teams. But I think rounding this out, I think keeping everyone healthy is the best decision to make. We need Dalvin Cook and we need Madison back as soon as possible. So hopefully,
isn't it weird though seeing like Kendricks and Barr and Hunter and Griffin and Linval Joseph on the sideline with a personal massager? It's just like, what is going on here?
Yeah, all the starters were acting pretty funny over there. I saw what you were talking about with Linval, and he was to Danielle Hunter.
Oh yeah,
that was funny. Dave, I'm gonna be the positive Polly over here because I'm usually that guy that's really down and out. I don't know that they're gonna go one and done. I don't know with this team having everyone back and dependent on who we play. We could win a game or two. I don't think that they'll be going to the Super Bowl, but we'll see, man. I'm going to keep it positive and hope that they can squeak out a couple of playoff wins.
So the way I wanted this playoff to go, I wanted Minnesota to hit the road. I wanted them to play the Saints because I think they play better in domes on the road than they do outdoors.
Yes.
Now, if that's not possible anymore, if it's got to be San Fran or Seattle, which I think right now it's either going to be the Saints or the Seahawks, right?
Yeah, we put this graphic up just for everyone. Well, I won't put it up now, but we put it up in our chat. So here's how it rolls. Tonight is determined by the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. There's one winner on one side, one on the other, and then a tie situation. If San Francisco beats the Seahawks in Seattle tonight, we will go to New Orleans. If Seattle wins, we will go to Seattle. If they somehow tie tonight, because that's still possible, we would actually go to the 49ers, which I think is the worst case scenario because they're the most built team and that defense is obnoxiously scary. But that's how it would roll. I don't foresee it being a tie. So it will either go to New Orleans or Seattle. And I think both of those are the best matchups because you get to go indoors or you get to play a banged up Seattle team. You guys didn't hear, if you haven't already, Seattle's pretty banged up. Both of their running backs are done for the season. They had to go and get Marshawn Lynch out of retirement. And what's the other guy? It's not Chris Carson, was it?
Chris Carson's on IR, I believe.
Or what was the guy's name? Robert Turbin. That's who it was. So they had to dig deep.
Oh, they brought Turbo Turbin back?
Yeah, him and Marshawn Lynch. They had to get both those guys back. I don't even know if they're playing right now because the Saints and the Seahawks and the Niners are playing. So that'll determine where we go. But yeah, that's the scenario.
Oh yeah.
We'll see. Let's jump into some gang balls and donkeys here. I'll let you go first because I don't know. I had a couple people that I wanted to pick from, but it's not Mike Boone, as Bob Wells had pointed out. I'm not picking him, but he did have a decent day.
Well, I'll go with Boone then. Boone was the only really consistent player on offense. He had a large yards per carry average. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I think they're like 8.7 yards per carry or something ridiculous like that.
Yep.
They should have just kept feeding him the ball and letting him charge through. The way the Bears were injured up front, up the middle, I'm surprised they didn't try to take advantage of that more often. And honestly, when I saw that the Vikings sat both their offensive tackles for this game, I thought the run game was just going to fall right apart. And I'm really glad that they didn't. And after Boone was disappointing against Green Bay, I was glad to see him come out and have a decent game. Well, actually, let's just say a good game. He had a really good game against the Bears.
Yeah, that's a good pick. He did have a couple of fumbles. One, I don't know if I would necessarily put all the shift and blame towards him, but when you break out not only one, but two like old school Adrian Peterson style, like 59-yard runs like that, you just have to tip your hat. And he's a third string running back. He had a good day, career day for him. And he finishes the season with 3 touchdowns.
I didn't think he was registered for a fumble in the game, was he?
Boone?
Yeah.
Let me look.
I don't think he was credited for a single fumble.
Oh, no, you're right. Sorry about that. Afadi Odenigbo and Sean Mannion. There's 1 lost, 1 recovered. So
yeah, Sean Mannion had that weird snap they didn't like fully recover before he tried to pitch. And Boone never got possession of it, so that went against Mannion.
How you doing, Adder? How you doing, Jerome? Thanks for joining in. We appreciate you guys jumping in and commenting. For my game ball, I have to go defensively. I'll say this. I didn't care, and this is just me being biased. I didn't give a rat's ass about the offense today. I wanted to see who was going to make plays on the defense. And early on, it was between Mackenzie Alexander and Mike Hughes. They were just up in people's faces.
Mackenzie was having a really great game. We were talking about that in the Discord chat today, about how he was just stepping up.
But I'm going to give mine to Eric Wilson. He was the lead tackler today. He had 7 by himself. He had a sack, 2 tackles for loss, and a quarterback hit. He had 12 total tackles. He's a quality player. I like him a lot. I've seen him this year do some. And maybe it was a little more aesthetically pleasing because, number one, it wasn't me getting my face busted. Remember, he had his nose. Somebody came through his face mask, and I think it was a block punt or something. Got kicked in the face. And then I just see this guy whenever he gets time to come in and relieve Kendricks or Barr, or if he's playing alongside those guys, he just makes plays. And he's not going to jump off your screen and be, the next Khalil Mack or anybody like that.
I kind of thought you were going to go Chris Boyd.
I did like Chris Boyd today as well. I did.
Chris Boyd was out there not only playing physically, but mentally. He was getting in players' heads big time. Yeah, he drew a penalty
today. I forget who it was on, but
Allen Robinson.
Woo!
Allen Robinson, if you guys are regular listeners of the podcast, you guys know that my expectations for Allen Robinson are very high.
Adder, that's a good point. Yeah, I was happy to see that too, because we've seen players before on other teams, especially when they have those early mistakes, they just can't recover. Mike Boone ran like a madman today, so good for him. But yeah, Chris Boyd's up there, 8 for 8, 2 tackles for loss. If he would have got the touchdown, it would have been a Fadi again, because that was just so good. Yes. Good job. Hey, what's up, Bob? Yeah, that's a good point too. Holton Hill looked pretty good as well. We've got some depth there. Which it frustrates the hell out of me because I don't want the depth to. I want to talk about the depth and how great they are, but
It's weird to see the secondary without all the big name players that we've known over the years. So seeing Andrew Sendejo back there again, it was kind of refreshing. He was laying some wood.
He was.
And then you got these
hammer down today on some guys.
Oh yeah. Then you got these corners coming in,
making people hurt. I love having that guy back.
That entire secondary did a very good job in tackling and limiting yards. I think the Bears only averaged like 4.5 yards per play this game, which is ridiculous.
Unfortunately, David Montgomery did have a 100-plus yard day. He had a touchdown, but no receiver went over 100 yards. They only had 207 total. Mitch Trubisky had a pretty pedestrian day. He threw a lot. But
just to be sure, donkeys were both going Sean Mannion, right?
Yeah, I didn't see anything that I liked from him.
There was nothing special. Nothing.
No, not at all.
He didn't take advantage of any of the opportunities he had. Passes were off the mark. He made some really bad decisions. All I know is that I'm going to sit here and I'm going to keep hoping that nothing happens to Kirk Cousins during the postseason run and that the Vikings make some sort of decision to bring in someone else, because not only has he still not thrown an NFL touchdown, his career interception total went from 1 to 3.
Yeah. And the last time he started before was, I think it was 2017. He was with the Rams, and it was a loss.
Yeah.
He's going to be a career backup anyways, but Sean Mannion did.
I don't think he's proven enough to be a backup. I don't think he has. I think he should be fighting for that number 3.
I saw it online. There is a whole Instagram page dedicated to Kyle Sloter, and they were out today. The Wolves.
Oh yeah, they were. I was on Twitter and I posted a couple things, and the Sloters they came and they made sure to let me know that Kyle Sloter was no longer with the team and should be. Did we get any injuries in the Bears game? I believe there was one offensive lineman that went down and didn't return.
Udo, I think that's his name.
But otherwise, I think the Vikings got out pretty safe. And to be honest, it was all second stringers. And I think that when a lot of the bigger ouchies happened was late in the third to the fourth quarter. And by that point, the backups were in. So anybody that really got hurt during this game is someone that probably won't get significant playing time in the playoffs.
I know Rashad Hill went down for a little bit, but was he all right? Did you see any update on him?
I know he didn't return. I haven't seen an update, though.
Okay.
So I'm assuming it's not super serious.
I hope not. He's a good swing tackle.
He is.
Montgomery tore it up. Yeah, Montgomery had a good day. Adam was just talking here before we started, and he said that if we both love Alexander Madison, Kyle West does too, but that's who he wanted the Vikings to pick up was Montgomery. So
yep, I was pounding the table for him at the draft, and when he went, the Vikings took Madison. At that point, I was like, okay, I went back and I watched a little bit more tape on Madison, and I was like, okay, I really like this kid. And I'm sure that if Madison would have been healthy during this game, we'd have gotten to see some more of that really awesome power running that he does. And it would have been a little bit different of a game maybe. But I don't know. I still – it doesn't matter who the running back is. Doesn't matter who the wide receivers are. Even if they still got that wide receiver out there that I still don't remember his name. The guy they signed during the middle of the season. He had a nice catch, whatever his name was, but he didn't. But who knows?
Your guess is as good as mine. I got to Buffalo Wild Wings a little bit late.
What's his name? Hollins or something like that?
Who's that?
Hollins, the wide receiver for the Vikings.
Oh, yeah. Kyle West said it to me. We talked separately offline today. He was at work, and he said, who the hell is this kid? I was like, he actually played in another game this year for us.
He did.
He played in Seattle, I think it was.
And both times I was like, I forgot all about this guy, and I forgot about him again during this game.
Oh, yeah. Same here. No, I had no idea. Ooh. Elfline was in the second string.
He did. They did not sit Elfline with the rest of the starters on the offensive line.
Well, probably because he fucking needs it.
And I don't think they sat Bradbury either.
Yeah.
And both those guys do need a little bit more work.
Since he's a rookie, but yeah, Elfline has been not impressive. What's up, Michael? How you doing, man? Yeah. So I got to Buffalo Wild Wings I think I sat down and there was like 7 minutes left, so about halfway into the first quarter. What happened to Patterson? He was ruled out with a concussion. What happened there? Was it on a kick return or a rush? Or
I believe it was on a running play.
Yeah, because I'm seeing 2 rushes for 14, no receptions. It's a typical Cordell Patterson day. Jesus Christ.
It wasn't an obvious injury, though. It wasn't one where he went down and you went, oh, my goodness, his head bounced off the turf or something like that. It was one that was more concealed, and he went over the sideline, and it was more of a quieter injury. It wasn't one of the ones where someone had to be carted out. There were a couple of those today, and I hate those.
You know what? I'm not even going to lie. I'm glad he's not on the team anymore, but I root for that kid. I'm glad he got a Super Bowl ring last year with New England. I'm glad he's still finding places to play. I was worried. I saw he's out with a concussion. I was like, man, what happened? CPAT's never injured. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, we all have those players outside of the Vikings we still root for.
Oh, yeah, 100%. All over the place. There's players everywhere that used to be on the team that I like to see that they're doing all right, still got a job, still thriving. They don't have to be jumping off the board, but
probably about 70% of Vikings fans still hope Teddy does well.
Damn right. Wouldn't be mad if the Saints won it all this year because he would he would get a ring, and that'd be crazy. Running down the stats, I'm not going to mention anything from Sean Mannion. No touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He didn't get sacked.
Lost fumble.
24.4 QBR, 35.1 rating.
No pocket presence whatsoever. Some questionable at best decision making.
I think the only thing that he did decent today was like play action and rolling out. I think he rolled out to the right a couple times, and you can see that's imprinted into the entire team.
Yeah.
Nothing there. There's nothing there really to talk about. The star of the day, you already mentioned, Mike Boone, 17 carries, 148, averaged 8.7 and a touchdown. Yeah, he had a great day, minus the little hiccups. But I like what he's seeing. That kid. I'm glad he got an opportunity this year.
Yeah, of course.
A lot of receiving today. Hollins, BC Johnson, Abdullah, Mike Boone, Irv Smith Jr., Conklin, Treadwell, CJ Ham. They're all listed here for targets. I don't think Treadwell or Ham caught anything, but
I really expected this to be a game that Treadwell came out and had several catches for a nice little chunky yards, maybe even a score. He is a really talented player, and he's been stepping up in a way that I thought that this was going to be another opportunity for him to shine, but the ball just couldn't get his way. Both those targets, one was like super low, one was super high, and I can't expect him to haul either of them in. And these receivers that the Vikings have some good receivers, even past, Thielen and Diggs and Rudolph, they've got pass catchers. So it's not like Sean Mannion was throwing to players who can't catch.
Michael Jenkins. We get to bring him up again.
Just darn silly. That's all I think.
This is another thing to look at to emphasize why we both agreed on the donkey with Sean Mannion. When you have 126 passing yards, I mean, come on. And there's 12 receptions for 126. It's not a lot. There was
3 turnovers.
It was Hollins. It's 2 receptions, and his longest was 23. 46 yards was your leading receiver. That's not good. That's not good at all. Going down to fumbles, Afadi Odenigbo recovered one, and Sean Mannion fumbled and lost one.
I'm not sure how they could watch that video and be positive his knee was down when he was touched.
Yeah, that's the craziest thing that I saw. I wasn't someone so he had a knee down, and wasn't another lineman maybe grazed the back of his foot?
Yeah.
What effort, though? I mean, it sucks that it didn't end up being a score, but what effort by that guy. Man,
it's weird because sometimes reviews have to be absolutely obvious, and other times it's just a question of, does it look like that was the way it went, and that'll be enough to overturn it? I mean, I watched that video several times, and I wasn't sure I saw enough evidence to say, yeah, he was down. I didn't see it.
Time to see what Jake Browning has. I would have been for it.
Me too. I'd have been down to check it out.
It's a meaningless game. Let's throw him in there. Have fun, kid. The Panthers were playing Will Greer the last 2 weeks just to see what the hell they have. So why not,
Yeah.
Andrew Buswell. Well, Adder says, at least he was blocking. That's funny. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I like Afadi Odenigbo. I like Stephen Weatherly. I like the effort these guys have, man. And you'll see them make a play here or there in every game. They're not the top-notch, ends like Griffin and Hunter, but they make a play or two every game, and they got to show that off. I was happy that they got some time today.
Well, we know the Bears' offense struggles. They're not a good offense. In general, they're just not good.
Mm-mm.
Now, the fact they still couldn't really move the ball well against the Vikings' second string, that says quite a bit. It really does.
Looking at Mitch's stats today, Mitchell Trubisky, 26 of 37, only 270 yards on 26 completions. Jesus. That's so bad. No touchdowns, no interceptions. He was sacked 4 times. He had a QBR of 30.9 and a rating of 84.
Ugly game.
He wasn't much better than Mannion, honestly.
Unless you like running the football, this game was not for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you, Jerome. I would have loved to have seen Afadi get that because everybody went nuts for that play.
I do have to say, though, US Bank Stadium, when I was watching the game, it was quiet. There was not a lot going on there. And I understand that you're not really getting super psyched up because your favorite players aren't on the field. I get that. But still, get loud, get rowdy, support the team. Have fun when you're there. Come on.
I saw Mike Zimmer one time telling everybody to simmer down, but yeah.
Well, yeah, the Vikings were on offense at that point.
Yeah, that's it. I just remember seeing him pan to the sideline. He's like telling everybody to be quiet. And it's crazy how one person can like control that whole place like that. It's crazy. We already went over a couple of these defensive stats. I picked Eric Wilson for my game ball this week. 12 total tackles, 7 by himself, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, quarterback hit. Kentrell Brothers and Chris Boyd were up there as well. Sendejo had 7. Weatherly had 7. The Vikings had 4 sacks today, 6 tackles for loss, 1 pass defended, and 6 quarterback hits. So the defense was alive and well. And just like against the Packers, the defense is doing their job. We need the offense to get another pulse and show some life again. But the defense,
but we can't really measure that in this game either. That's what stinks. Is that even if the offense in this game, if they were to have put points on the board, it would have meant absolutely nothing as far as momentum or togetherness going into the playoffs.
That's very true. Adder will answer your question in just a second. Let me finish off the rest of these boring stats here. Amir Abdullah had 1 kick return for 28. Punt return, BC Johnson 1 for 8. Dan Bailey, he's going to get an extra, $1 million, I think?
Yeah.
That stat that went up? He was 4 for 4 today on field goals and 1 for 1 on extra points. If he maintained, I think,
90% or better,
what I read for the season, he would get $1 million bonus. And if he was 87% or better on field goals, he would get $750,000. So shout out to Dan the man, special teams ace of the year so far.
But Danielle Hunter needed half a sack to get a $500,000 bonus.
I was so mad for him on that. He's had something to say about that on the sideline.
He'd have gotten it too, no doubt in my mind.
Oh yeah, he would have gotten it. If the backups can get 4 sacks, they might have had another Los Angeles Chargers performance today. The starters would have played. And Cole quit punting 1 time for 52 yards. So those are your stats for the game. Let's talk about this for a second. Adders puts up a great question. I like talking about Mitch because I'm a North Carolina guy, and he was a Tar Heel quarterback. Very much an enigma of a draft pick, and I'm not sure what the hell Chicago was doing for like 2 or 3 different times for a 2 to 3 week period. You're like, damn, Mitch Trubisky looks good. And then about 75% of the other time of his professional career, you're like, ugh, what? Why did they take him at number 2? You guys remember they passed on Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson to get that guy. So I think ultimately Trubisky stays another year because he's on a rookie deal. That's just my opinion. Could they go in the draft and get someone? Sure. Do I think it'll be a high pick? I doubt it.
Do you think that the Bears are going to put that 5th-year option down?
Answer that question of all. If you get rid of him, which I don't think they'd get rid of him anyways, they'd keep him as a backup. If you get rid of him completely, who are you going to get that's better? There are some options out there like Eli Manning or Phillip Rivers or Cam Newton, Jameis Winston.
Andy Dalton.
Yeah, the Red Rifle. They're going to go Joe Burrow up there in Cincinnati, so you could upgrade, but I don't know, man. I would if I was the general manager for a day or the coach or whatever. I just don't see it with Mitch. But you have to improve if you get rid of him. But that's a good question. What do you think, Adam?
I don't know. My main question is, are the Bears going to lock him down to the 5th-year option?
So you're better with the contract stuff than I am. So you lock him down for a 5th year. You do the 5th-year option. Financially? It's better for the team that way, correct?
No.
Oh.
No, you're paying an almost fully guaranteed contract to a player if you lock down that 5th-year option. But you get that player for sure for a year, and you can use that time to evaluate them.
You can't. If you're the Bears, you can't do that with him. What has that guy shown you? You know what? You guys,
but they're rolling the dice because let's say Mitchell Trubisky comes out this year, and they get a little bit more offensive line support for him. They help him out, and they tailor the offense a little bit more to his needs. He comes out. He has a nice season. He throws for 38 touchdowns. He has 18 interceptions or so, and a solid season. Then they have to decide, okay, now we're going to pay him a lot more than if we would have locked him down at the 5th-year option.
These are his 3-year stats. 2017, 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 2,193. Last year, 24 touchdowns, 12 picks, significantly higher rating at 95.4, a little over 3,000 yards. This year, a little over 3,000 yards, 17 touchdowns, 10 picks. Nothing about that jumps off the board. And he's 12-4 last year. They're 8-8 this year, but he didn't start a couple of those games, so you don't technically give him the win.
So the Bears didn't have a losing record.
Yeah, he might have a 500 record there. I don't know how you keep that guy around much longer. I don't know. I wouldn't.
The question is, do you think his agent will be able to pull that off? Because that's where it's all going to happen. If
Sam Bradford,
Mitchell Trubisky's agent can get in there and make a convincing argument that the Bears need to hold on to him for a little bit while and see what they can get out of him, it can happen.
Sam Bradford stayed around for way longer than he needed to, so I'm sure somebody can do something.
I love Fansided, but they put up an article talking about the biggest number 1 overall quarterback busts in NFL history, and they had Sam Bradford on there, and I was like, you check his bank account, he did not bust.
Yeah, not at all.
Sure, he doesn't have rings, but wow, he's doing good. His family will do fine for many years.
Oh, what do we got here? Sorry, I was trying to check on the Seahawks and 49ers game. 59ers will Vikings honestly say we can beat anybody in the playoffs this year. I like that. I think that we could. I think that a lot of things would have to go our way. I think a lot of things would have to be perfect. But I've seen this team this year at the height of their powers, and they look damn good on both sides.
When this team's good, they're very good. And if they can come into the playoffs and play that good football, they can beat people.
They absolutely can. I think they'll win a playoff game. I don't know. I don't know yet who it'll be against. And I know, like I said, a lot of things have to go their way. But if all we can hope for next week when they play, wherever they play, is that we don't have to worry about like Monday night, like, oh shit, we didn't have Madison, we didn't have Cook, nobody's helped. Like, I want everybody out there so we can say, okay, cool, this team is just better than we are.
Right.
That's it.
If you're gonna get beat straight up.
Niners lead 10-0. All right. Thanks for the update, Michael. Ooh, here's a good one. Mariota, Bortles, or Keenum on a 1-year over Trubisky.
Ooh, Bortles.
How about one of those guys in to Minnesota as Kirk Cousins' backup? I'd so be down for that.
I still think somehow they're going to end up with Andy Dalton as the backup. I still think that's going to happen somehow.
The Vikings?
Yeah.
Really?
I don't think a team is going to pay him starter money. Nobody's going to pay him starter money. And I think that at that point, nobody's going to want to pay him decent backup money. And I think he's going to sit around in free agency till after the draft.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point, man. It always comes down to money. We talk about all that stuff because these rookie deals are so friendly to get a couple. Like that's what the Rams did. I mean, take them for the example. You got Jared Goff on a rookie deal, and you make it to a Super Bowl, and then you pay the shit out of him. I don't know if that was the right move, but it's a cheap option. You can build the rest of the team.
I don't know if you guys watch The Good Place, but that's one of the main reasons why I love Blake Bortles. Is there's a character on there that's just obsessed with Blake Bortles and loves the Jacksonville Jaguars. And he's always talking about Bortles. Like whenever he throws anything, it's Bortles, And I laugh so hard because it's like when normal people throw something, they'll say like Kobe or something. They'll throw something Bortles.
God, I don't, and that's the thing. Jacksonville wasn't that good even when they went to the AFC Championship game. It was a defensive team. You wonder what they can do. You wonder what a guy like Bortles can do with pieces around, because you see what a guy like Case Keenum can do, but I think they're completely different quarterbacks. I never saw anything that really wowed me with him. That was a shocker.
He was really good at handing the ball to Fournette.
Yeah.
But he's got that prototypical size that you want. He's got arm strength. Yeah. There are qualities that he has that you can work with. But otherwise, he's got a lot of shortcomings too.
I think, you know what? It's kind of like my Green Bay buddies today that text me. They were like, well, you guys are doing all right. Cool. Another improbable Packers comeback at the very last second too today. That was crazy. We can all agree like, hey, you know what? F the Bears, because Green Bay and Minnesota come together. We hate the Bears. I think we can all, as Viking fan, agree as we round this part of the conversation out that if we could just get rid of Sean Mannion for next year, I think we'd all be okay with that.
This season, when we started, I automatically said I don't feel good about this backup quarterback situation.
Hey, you know what? As much crap as I give Kirk Cousins, I'll give him the consistency of being healthy because God help if that guy has to come in during the playoffs.
Oh, my goodness.
Oof. You can go ahead and write that game completely off. I love this comment, right? This is probably the best comment in weeks.
He does. And he's not fooling anyone.
Oh, Andrew, thank you for that. That's incredible.
Now, I want to go away from this game for a second because there's something you Kyles forgot to do last week.
We did, and you were gone, and we all know that you're the dad of this show, so you need to set us straight and help make sure that we do our job.
So we need to talk about that Survival League, and we need to congratulate Lauren on his win. Congratulations for winning the Survival League. You went with the Atlanta Falcons last week, who were going up against the team that I picked because I was throwing it, the Jacksonville Jaguars. It was a smart pick. Yeah. You knew that I was throwing it, so you went against the team that I was throwing it to. Genius stuff there. So the North Dakota native will be getting a nice prize package full of lots of cool Viking stuff. I've already started a little bit of a collection of stuff that I'm going to be sending. We'll be sure to send you an email and let you know when everything's on the way. We love doing this. We're glad that it didn't run too far into the postseason because that can get a little dicey. But either way, this is something that I hopefully will be able to do again next year because I have fun with this. And Mr. Smith's starting to get a little bit used to it, so maybe he'll be a little more competitive next year.
I did all right this year. I mean, it was definitely much improved from last year, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. And like I promised early on in the season when we started, we do the show every week, but when the season started, I promised whoever won, I'll buy you a Purple People Podcast shirt or hoodie of your choosing and the size and color and all that fun stuff that you want. So just message the page and let us know. Adam knows who the winner is, so we'll make sure that it's them. And that's on the house. That's part of the package for winning.
I'll pass you over his email after this.
Yeah,
send him an email and let him know.
It'll just be more incentive. Like you guys that join the chat right now, we have 6 people watching. It's a Sunday night. It's right after. I know a lot of people are watching football. We usually have around 10 or 11 in. But this is just an incentive for you guys to interact with us. We want to draw more people in. And this is totally free. That's the best part about it. There's just a couple of Joe Schmoes cutting it up, talking about Vikings football because we're big fans. And we like that you guys tune in. So we're happy to do it, and it'll be fun to do next year.
Yeah, we started this because we're just guys who like football. And we wanted to talk football. So when me and Kyle West wanted to talk a little bit about football, guess what? We started up this podcast. We talked football. Then we met up with some people along the way. They hopped on. Some people hopped off. Now it's me and the Kyles, and we come in, we talk football. And then this awesome live stuff came across, and now we're getting even more interaction with some of the choices that we're making as far as our streaming. And this live streaming with putting comments up on the screen and everything. This is why we do it. We enjoy interacting with you guys so much, and we just want to talk football, and that's what we're here for.
I'm commenting back in the chat. Jerome's talking about a lot of the throwback players. Jerome mentioned his age earlier. I won't throw it out there again because why not? We'll keep that out. But he's an older Vikings fan. I just want to know who are your guys' favorite all-time Viking players?
Well, I do want to say that I've put together several articles over on the Viking Age as far as the greatest players of all time, the greatest players at certain positions. And I have always put Alan Page number 1. So, yeah, he might not be my favorite, but I think he's the best.
It's a bold take. I like that.
Now, if we're talking favorite, it's Paul Krause for the reasons that listeners of the show know, because it's just, he's too awesome.
Everybody should have heard me be loud obnoxious by now. I love John Randall. He's my favorite Viking of all time. I do have a Paul Krause jersey. I'm very proud. I'm going to be having it up on the wall. Here in the next couple of weeks, you guys are going to see me move out. This is my kitchen. I'm going to go right next to the room next door, and I'm going to have my Vikings wall up. I cannot wait to show that to you guys. Got a lot of stuff that's going to be cool in the background, but I wanted to highlight this guy right here because I thought it was pretty cool. He just signed a bunch of these about 2 weeks ago. But we got some responses here. Randy Moss or Adrian Peterson. What's up, Daver?
Those are solid picks.
That's a tough one.
I don't think it's an or. I think those are his favorites.
I like it. I couldn't pick between the two. I don't know. I want to lean Adrian a little bit more because he played longer with Minnesota, I feel. But
of those two, I'd take Chris Carter.
I knew you would say that. Alan Page all time. Yeah, that's a great pick.
Oh, Joey Browner. Joey Browner is so underrated. I think not enough Vikings fans really appreciated his contributions. Now, when we're talking about really underrated Vikings, Ed White. Ed White doesn't get nearly as much love as he deserves. He was a finalist for the Hall of Fame. Oh, well, he was one of the options, semifinalists, and he didn't make the cut to be a finalist. And it's honestly a bit of a major snub that Ed White wasn't a finalist for the NFL Hall of Fame, Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Adder, if I had a wider platform here, I would go show you. I have a panoramic style. A wide versus the more square, tall picture here. But I have a nice signed panoramic from Jared Allen that I got recently from the same place I mentioned in the last episode where we get these. So you guys can check those out. Watch the last episode, and you can find it on YouTube. I'll tell you where to get those or shoot us a message. But we got Chris Carter in there, Moss. Ahmad Rashad was way underrated.
Now, I'll be a little bit honest because before I went back too much, like as a Vikings fan, I listened to the radio with my grandpa in the garage in the late 80s, and I got to know a lot of the Vikings at that point. And then I went all the way back to like the Purple People Eaters era and stuff like that. I didn't get to see a lot of the Ahmad Rashad kind of era stuff, but I grew up as an NBA fan first. So I'd wake up in the morning and I'd watch NBA Inside Stuff. And, of course, that was hosted by Ahmad Rashad.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that was the same guy until, like, many years later.
That's awesome.
So when I made that connection, I was like, oh, my goodness.
Can we get a shout-out for Gus Farrat? Can he get a shout-out? I like Gus Farrat. He's not going to be anybody's favorite. Man, he was lovable. I like.
Well, he might not be someone thinks is the best, but he can definitely be a favorite. Sean Salisbury is one of my favorites just because when I met him, we talked about Bruce Campbell and Burn Notice. So favorites are one thing, but thinking someone's the best is a difference. So
true. Yeah, favorite quarterbacks I put either Culpepper or Frank Tarkenton. You got to mention some of them. They're always going to be at the top of everybody's list. I'd love to say Favre, but he didn't play here long enough.
John David Booty.
Such a good name.
I was just looking on eBay and there's a John David Booty football for like $20 signed. And I was like, I wonder if the podcast survival winner would like that. I'm guessing no.
So let's talk about, we can round the show out here. Let's talk about the possible picture that we're going to see tonight and where we're going to be headed next week. The team will be playing against either the Saints or the Seahawks. I highly doubt that this game's going to end in a tie. Like we mentioned earlier, in the rare case that this game comes down to a tie, we would go to San Francisco. San Francisco wins tonight. It looks like we will go to New Orleans. The bad part about that is New Orleans is really freaking good this year. The positive to that would be it's indoors, but that spins right back around to that's one of the hardest places to play in football. I don't like the matchup against the Saints. It's one of my least favorite of these few options that we have. Drew Brees is awesome. Alvin Kamara is rounded into shape. He had a wonderful day today in Carolina. They've got the X factor in Taysom Hill. Michael Thomas is unbelievable. And their defense has been stupid good this year, but it is indoors. They have been stunned this year a couple of times. They even lost to the Falcons not that long ago. So I don't know. I don't like that matchup, but if San Francisco wins, that's where we'll be headed. If Seattle wins, we will go to Seattle.
Neither of those matchups are good.
No, I would rather go to Seattle, to be honest, because when we played Seattle earlier in the year, it was a close game. And with them not having the running back health that they have now, I would like that matchup a lot more. I'm not saying that Marshawn Lynch can't come out and give you a play or two, but how in game shape is this guy? You know, his body hasn't been banged up like it has been before. Robert Turbin was a good backup, but like I said, these guys are just getting signed off the street. So I think that's more of an advantage. So I'm rooting for Seattle to win tonight. But
San Fran's knocking on the door again. So
yeah, probably not going to happen.
Yeah, we knew coming into this that Seattle was banged up. They were going to have trouble getting a win. I didn't anticipate this to be a Seattle win. So yeah, I'm thinking that we're going to see the Minnesota Vikings heading to New Orleans.
David, I'm right there with you, man. Drew Brees knows how to pick. I mean, it doesn't matter. Michael Thomas is going to do Michael Thomas things, but it's like a couple of years ago. You remember the Minneapolis Miracle? We shut him down in the first half. The second half, I mean, he'll find the mismatch. He'll find the matchup that favors them the most, and he'll go right to it. And he'll throw the ball exactly where it needs to go. So I don't know. I'm not saying that we would be completely – I'm not going to write him off before anything can happen, but I don't like that matchup. By the way, David, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. I'm reading it how it spells. Adam, have you seen him in the chat before? I don't know. Is this your first time with the chat? Have you been with us before? Because I don't remember it, but I'm glad that you're here and you're interacting with us, man. I really appreciate it. You're throwing in some good stuff tonight.
It's always nice to have people in the chat, whether we know them or not. You're always welcome. Tell your friends. Come on in.
Hey, come on in, man. Be here for every show. We do one every week, so – Adder says, let's go to New Orleans. I'd rather face him week one after our bye. The rest of the game should be easier. Yeah, essentially, yeah, if you can beat New Orleans, the rest of these teams, they'll be just as good or not as good as this one up to it, because I think they're the best team in the conference. I know that they got beat by a last-second field goal by San Francisco, but I think they would beat the crap out of Green Bay. I think they'd beat the Seahawks. I'm not even going to throw the Eagles in there. If you just didn't hear, the Eagles won the NFC East tonight. They have no business being in the playoffs. They're going to play what looks like they're probably going to host Seattle. That'll be an interesting game. But yeah, I think New Orleans is the toughest team in this conference. I think they're the most well-rounded, and Sean Payton's a hell of a coach. So we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish that we were recording this a little bit later, because I would like to break down a little bit more of what the Vikings can expect against their opponent, but I think having the mystery of what's going to happen and where the Vikings are going to go, it adds a little bit of excitement in some ways. I'm still not sure how many Vikings key players are going to be good to go. Is Dalvin Cook going to be ready? Is Eric Kendricks going to be ready? Is this rest going to be enough for those key players to come out and play at a high level? I'm not really sure. I haven't read a lot of updates about that because, of course, pretty much every starter was shut down today. But I've just got to kind of hope that Minnesota will have these players available, because they're going to need all the help they can get, because no matter where they go, who they play, the Vikings will be the underdogs in that game.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. This is going to be a rough and tough road to the Super Bowl, and that's what they're aiming for. But it looks like we'll be going to New Orleans, and this is just based off what the score is now. Anything can change. You know, halves of football can be very different. But either in Seattle or in New Orleans.
That's a San Fran field goal, 13-0.
I'm glad that the Vikings made the postseason this year. That would have been a lot of, and we'll review this whenever the season actually ends for the team. But if they hadn't, and they went 8-8 again or 9-7 and didn't make the playoffs, there would be a lot of turmoil within this team. Mike Zimmer talks, Kirk Cousins talks. We already know that would have been really bad, but I'm glad to see that they got a shot. So that's all you need. What did it? Green Bay won the Super Bowl as a wild card team. I know the Giants did it at least once.
Oh yeah.
So anything's possible, man. just hope that they put up a fighting effort. I don't want to see anything like Monday night.
No, I don't want to see the Vikings lay down. I want them to be competitive. I want them to come out and play their best football. If they play their best football and they lose, that's the way it happens. You can't really feel too bad about it.
Daver and Andrew are talking about Mike Boone again. Yeah, he had a solid day. I was pissed in the beginning with those little hiccups that he had, but he had a really nice long run. His average was what, like we said, 8.7. It's nuts. He had a couple big runs, not just one. Saquon Barkley had that earlier today. The Giants hosted the Eagles earlier, and it was like -2, 2 yards, 3 yards, 0, 2, and then a 59.
Well, we'd see that with Adrian Peterson back in the day too.
Absolutely, yeah. You know,
it was all a game of numbers for him. You keep giving him carries, you know he's going to break one. Mathematically, it's going to happen.
I like everybody in the chat. They're talking about stuff way back in the day. Like Michael and Jerome are going back and forth with Anthony Carter, talking about classic Viking players and games. That's really cool, man. I'm glad to see you guys interact now.
Last week was neat for Monday Night Football when they got the 3 deep together and they were taking like photos of them on the field and on the sideline and stuff. That was really cool. Having Brian Robinson sound the horn last week was really cool. I don't know who did it this week. Do you know?
I don't.
Because I completely missed that.
I would have to look it up.
Yeah, sometimes those in-game elements, I miss them. I used to throw them in my articles when the Vikings would have home games, but the Vikings have been really slow to post them. They used to do them like the day before or Friday, but they haven't been doing them that early. Now they've been doing them mostly right on game day, and it's confusing. Because he can't prepare. He really can't.
Yeah, Andrew, I'm with you on that. Stick with the run game. Use the play action off of it. Do what you've done very well all season. The number one thing for me besides this, with this game coming up, the number one thing besides Dalvin Cook and Alexander Mattison and establishing the run is I want to see the secondary just be capable. I don't want to see Xavier Rhodes getting torn up again. I want to see him have a really good game. That'll help on the other side too. That'll mean Trey Waynes will have a better game, and we already know the safeties are pretty good on this team. But those are the two things that I really, really want to see. I think everything else can sort itself out. But
is that what you want? What you really, really want?
I'll tell you what I want. What I really, really want.
I do want to give you a shout out on that title for the episode here, the Bear Necessities. I was talking with my sister yesterday. We went grocery shopping, and we were talking about how if we were to get Disney Plus, why we'd get it. And I said, well, I would definitely want to watch Tailspin. That's a classic right there.
Ooh.
And of course, Tailspin is based on The Jungle Book.
All-time favorite Disney movie, The Jungle Book.
And that's where you get that song, The Bear Necessities.
It was just a staple of my childhood, man. I loved that movie so much. And even though this is based on that reference too, I couldn't help but think about the Saturday Night Live skit too. They had Chris Farley and everybody else in there.
Oh yeah.
So good.
So yeah, the playoff picture is starting to take shape. I don't think that we're going to do a lot of playoff type predictions. We're just going to kind of roll with the punches and respond to what happens. So don't expect any kind of like midweek shows where we preview games or predict games. We're just going to go into the wild card week and see what happens. That's our plan.
We'll keep you guys up to date. Like I said, we do the show every week. It varies whatever day. Try to see when our schedules line up, but we'll keep you up to date. We're going to keep this train rolling, and hopefully we'll be talking about the Vikings for the next couple of weeks. So
that'd be nice. I know I'd like that a lot over on the Viking Age.
Hell yeah.
I appreciate all you guys that head over there and check out articles, because that, of course, is where I go to work. That's where I put up my articles. That's where my team puts out some really great articles on both the Vikings, college players that Vikings fans should be watching, situations, opinions. It's a really cool site, and I think that downloading that app will help you Not only if you miss some things throughout the week, you'll be able to catch up real quick. You'll get some takes, some hot, some not so hot. But hey, if nothing, it gives you some topics to discuss. Like recently, after the game, I would say about an hour after the game or so, I put out my best and worst articles. And yeah, there were some things that I thought the Vikings didn't do well. There were some things that I thought that were done really well. And in the comments, I've got people saying that, hey, the one thing that you thought wasn't very good, this is why it is good. And honestly, I appreciate that kind of discourse. And that's one reason why I love having the chat here and I love having the other hosts. And I wish that I disagreed with Mr. Smith more, but we got to make that happen. We've got to get some Skip and Shannon kind of stuff going on here.
Skip. We can disagree. I like all the mainstream stuff, and then you like the not so popular stuff. So we can talk about like music. We can have a whole Metallica show, and you can just tell.
I just had a friend yesterday tell me about some Shawn Mendes guy that I've never heard of, so that was fun.
He's a popular young artist out right now.
Yeah, never heard of him. I think that the one place I heard of him was he was on a commercial for some credit card service.
Yeah, probably.
Yep, that's where I learned about him. But I talked about the app where you can check out the Viking Age. There's also the app for Undead Walking, which you can go to check out information on The Walking Dead. If you're not a fan of The Walking Dead, that's okay. No worries. I won't get angry at you for not checking it out, but we always have really cool stuff going on over there. Right now, I'm recapping some of the older episodes, talking about who died in those episodes, as well as putting out some news. My coworker, Sarah Beth, is going through and doing some New Year's resolutions for some of the most popular characters on The Walking Dead. And if you're a fan of The Walking Dead, zombies, there's 3 shows that are going to be on in 2020. The movies are going to start coming. The video games, there's a couple coming out. I think there's one coming out on Tuesday, a VR game, which looks really fun. So yeah, if you're a fan of The Walking Dead, check that out.
Check it out right here. Yeah.
I always recommend the apps because I think they're easier and you can set your notifications to whatever you want. Like I have both apps downloaded on my phone, but I've got them both set to silent because I don't need the noises. Yeah, and when I look at my phone, I'll see the notification. I'll be like, oh, I do want to read that. Click, or I don't want to read that. Swipe. It's just so easy.
I should put another banner up. I'm not going to do it right this second because we're in the middle of a show. But I want to give a shout out. Allie Atkins joined us late too. What's up, man? Appreciate all that. All you guys interacting in the chat, man. You make the show so much better. You pretty much make the show. Me and Adam and me and Kyle can sit up here and blab all day, but you give us good suggestions, and we really appreciate you guys. I think that's it for this week.
I want to end with one thought, though.
Okay.
You guys were talking about quarterbacks who could come to Chicago and turn that team around. 2 words for you.
Oh, God.
Tom Brady.
That'd never happen.
It could.
We won't say never, but I can't see him going anywhere else. You know how bad it's like? I don't care. He's still going to have the most rings ever. But you know how
Tom Brady on the Bears, and that's a playoff team. That's a Super Bowl contender.
But do you know how bad his legacy would be if he went to a team and they only went like 7-9 because the line stuff and Bill Belichick as a coach? And then all the whispers over the years were, yeah, it was that team, it was that system. He wasn't anything to do with it. I don't see him challenging that. I don't see him doing that.
I don't see it happening either, but it's possible.
It's true. It's more like the Panthers are going to stick with Cam Newton for one more year. I was going to say he would make them a lot better over Trubisky. I don't think that Jameis would be much of an improvement. He turns the ball over too much. Eli and Phillip Rivers are too old. They also turn the ball over a lot. So it'll be interesting. I think we'll see old Mitch back at it again next year.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize I'd start that in the chat. Sorry, guys.
We'll keep it PG, but we see you, Ali. Ooh, that's funny. Put Brady with stupid Lions.
I don't want to see Chase Daniel to the Bears either. He tore Vikings up.
Yeah, dude, they swept us the last 2 years. It's so embarrassing. We were 2-4 in the division this year. Ugh.
Ugly.
Got to be better than that, man. But anyways, playoffs this weekend, and after that, we'll see you around this time next week, maybe Sunday or Monday. We'll recap the wild card weekend, and we thank you all for joining us. Really appreciate it. I'm not going to say it because you're here, and that's your.
I was waiting to see if you would.
Nope.
I was like, waiting to see.
No.
Stay classy, Minnesota.